Exactly 4 years ago today, I was in the worst pain of my life. Pain that resulted in 15 kilograms of unintentional weight loss, pain that kept me bedridden for 22 hours a day, and pain that all but evaporated my quality of life. After stacking up more trips to the doctors than my own grandmother and 2 surgeries later, I was eventually diagnosed with a chronic illness, Crohn's disease. At this point, my health and fitness was at an all-time low, having barely left the house in months, let alone go for a run or lift a weight. And so this diagnosis kickstarted a protracted recovery process of initially learning how to function like a normal adult again, and more recently figuring out how to get into the best shape of my life, which is how I stumbled upon the idea of hybrid training. Hybrid training is where you combine multiple training disciplines to achieve a well-rounded fitness level. Usually this means combining some kind of resistance training like weightlifting with some form of cardio like running, cycling, swimming and stuff like that. For me, I found the best combination has been running and weightlifting, but of course, you're free to choose any combination you like. And I genuinely believe that this type of training is the optimal way to maximize your mental and physical health, irrespective of your current fitness level. So I want to share with you 3 reasons why I think everyone should consider training like a hybrid athlete. The perfect fitness plan is the one you stick with. When I first started out my health and fitness journey, I tried to devise the foolproof training plan, the one that I was going to stick with for the rest of my life. The idea being that if I just follow the plan, I was going to achieve my training goals and my fitness goals by default. But the issue was that within 2, maybe 3 weeks of doing the plan, turning up to my sessions, going to the gym, I literally recoiled at the thought of having to do another leg session or having to do more squats, more deadlifts and things like that. The whole routine just felt like this tiresome and monotonous chore that I had to do outside of my full-time job, rather than something that excited me, something that I really wanted to do, that I got to do outside of everything else that was happening in my life. The beauty of hybrid training then is that it offers us this variety. There can be periods where you're training for a marathon or training for a bodybuilding competition, or maybe just playing pickleball with your friends and family. And it's really having this option to pick and choose what you want to focus on in any given period that keeps us motivated and having fun along the way. I've also found that the periodization of our training in this way helps us to massively reduce the risk of injury, which is clearly another really important factor when it comes to making sustainable progress. Like, if you are consistently training the same muscles, doing the same sports, doing the same exercise, you're going to be more prone to overuse injuries. Whereas if you just mix things up a little bit, like throw in a cycle session or throw in a swim, you're going to allow those micro injuries and that muscle fatigue to repair itself, to get better before you do those same exercises again. So really the key takeaway here is that we want to optimize our training for consistency, because that's what's going to help us to make the most progress long term, and hybrid training offers us a fun and flexible way to make that happen. The other thing I've been thinking about is longevity. I want to live as long as possible, and I want to spend as many of those years in good health as possible as well. You see, when I was in my early 20s, I never really considered how my nutrition and my training could impact my personal longevity. Like, I gave it 0 consideration. But now I've been diagnosed with a chronic illness, I'm far more mindful about how my decisions today can impact my life tomorrow. And the way I like to visualize this is with a longevity curve, with lifespan along the x-axis and health span along the y-axis. The idea is that the perfect longevity curve would be a square, where peak health span is maintained until a sudden event simultaneously ends our health span and our lifespan. For example, someone who lives to 100, who's really active, who's in really good health, and then passes away suddenly in their sleep. So our goal is to find ways to pull the curve up and to the right to effectively square the longevity curve. And hybrid training is one of the most effective ways I found to do this, because you get the health-related benefits of both cardio training and strength training. In particular, strength training is proven to increase bone density, preserve muscle mass, improve insulin sensitivity, all of which are really important to prevent age-related decline. In fact, maintaining muscle is one of the strongest predictors for longevity, with research showing that the more muscle mass you have, the more likely you are to live to a long age, and the more functional you're going to be as you age too. Cardio, on the other hand, is critical for heart health, brain function, and overall metabolic efficiency. For instance, improving your VO2 max, which is your body's ability to use oxygen, has consistently been shown to reduce the risk of early mortality. And even just a few very gentle aerobic exercises each week, like going for a light run or a light cycle or something along those lines, can reduce inflammation, support your mental health, and dramatically improve your long-term resilience. So if you're interested in living a long and healthy life, then I highly recommend giving hybrid training a go. Okay, so I'm now about 5k into a 10k run, and as I was running, I was thinking, when I first started hybrid training, one of my main concerns was that doing the running, doing the cardio, would massively undermine my strength gains and muscle mass. And this is an idea that comes from the world of exercise science in a concept called the interference effect, which essentially suggests that combining endurance training and aerobic training will undermine our performance and results in both domains. But I've later learned that this is somewhat of a myth. In fact, there's a 2021 meta-analysis, which I've got down here in front of me, which found that for untrained individuals, concurrent training does not significantly impede strength development. And for trained individuals who separate their endurance and resistance workouts into different sessions, there's minimal interference. So as long as there's some degree of thoughtful programming, such as scheduling our strength training and cardio training at different times and eating enough protein, then it's more than possible for us to effectively combine both training modalities. So we can reap the benefits of hybrid training without compromising our gains. This also means we get the best of both worlds when it comes to body composition: less fat, more muscle, better endurance, and improved overall physique. And for me, that's been the biggest shift. Training not just for aesthetics or performance in isolation, but for a more resilient and well-rounded body. Hybrid training improves how I look, how I feel, how I function. I'm stronger under a barbell, but I can also run 10k without feeling entirely wrecked. My heart health, my recovery, and energy levels have all improved, and I found it far easier to stay lean without obsessing over calories too. So if you want to look and feel the best you've ever felt, I highly recommend giving hybrid training a go. You don't have to be this elite athlete or follow some extreme program. Just gradually start adding some cardio sessions alongside your regular strength workout, and over time you build a body that's not just strong and capable, but also conditioned, mobile, and built to last.